Hey guys, what's going on? This is Promise, looking a little bit here on the balance patches from Blizzard's StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. Patch number 13 was released 22 hours ago. Let's just go ahead and look at each one a little bit closely. So we have changes to Protoss, to Terran, and to Zerg. So all three races have minorly been changed. Well, I'm not too sure it's minor. Let's just go ahead and read the patches. So Oracle, the duration for the Envision has been increased from 30 to 60 seconds. Okay, so if you guys don't know about the spells and the abilities from the Oracle, the Envision ability detects cloaked units and burrowed units like Widow Mines, like Observers, like Dark Templars, like Banshees. So that has been increased from 30 to 60. So this is actually kind of cool because Widow Mines in the early game, the best way that Protoss can really counter it is if they get an Observer. Oracle, of course, still, I mean, the Envision ability, I don't really think a lot of Protoss players were really using it with the Oracle. They were just freaking using that laser beam and killing their opponent's economy and just trashing, possibly just taking a free win. So this is going to be cool for the Oracle to be using that ability a little bit more, which might force Protoss players to lay back a little bit instead of going Robotics Facility. Maybe they can now go a little bit more Twilight Council heavy towards Templar, towards Archon, maybe even DTs. Those kinds of plays are going to be a little bit more viable now that the increase has went up from 30 to 60. So the second part of the balance change is to Terran, the Widow Mine. So the primary target damage for the missile has been increased from 125 to 125 plus 35 versus shields. Okay, so Widow Mines were freaking good. I'm not going to doubt that. PvT specifically just because I'm a Protoss player, but I have casted a ridiculous amount of TVZs and TVTs, and the Widow Mine is definitely a very powerful unit for the Terran arsenal. Now, 125 plus 35 shields is good. It's very, very obvious that it's a buff, but again, I feel like this is going to make the game so much more micro-intensive. For example, let's say a Widow Mine is burrowed right outside your natural. You have your whole units on one select hotkey. You move out, boom, it hits it, and it hits like a lot. It takes a lot of, whatever, it takes a lot of health out of your units, right? This is going to force players to move each unit individually to tank the damage hits so that they can go ahead and then focus down the Widow Mine instead of losing their whole army or like a bulk amount of their army. They can just like lose some hit points on one unit and pretty much eliminate the Widow Mine. So cool little buff, but still, I mean, I think the Widow Mine is very good. I do not think it's overpowered. I just think that players need to micro a little bit better against it. For example, I've seen players like Baby Knight in a PvT that I've casted. He went Hallucinated Zealot to tank the damage and then focus down the Widow Mine. So that's just an idea of how smart these players can be when still figuring out how the game is supposed to be played in the beta phase. So that's a little bit about the Widow Mine. Next, we're going to jump into Zerg. Hatchery, the pneumatized carapace, I can't even say that word, upgrade now only requires a hatchery. So that upgrade is Overlord speed. Cool, nice little change. Of course, if you needed to do that, you would have to get a layer in advance, which costs 100 gas. Now, this is just going to make Overlords a little bit faster. For example, you can spot, if your Terran opponent's going to go for Hellbats, you can possibly get that very, very quickly. You're sacrificing layer, but, I mean, if you're going to have that, if you want that valuable scouting information to send in an Overlord into your main, into your opponent's main to see exactly what tech they're going, that's definitely going to be very, very helpful. So, nice little change there for the Hatchery. Now, another change for Zerg is the Infestor. The projectile speed for fungal growth has reduced from 15 to 12. Okay, so I'm not too sure about the Infestor change. Blizzard has really, really been changing the Infestor a lot in Wings of Liberty and in Heart of the Swarm. They've been buffing it. They've been nerfing it. This is an obvious nerf. Maybe this is related a little bit to ZVZ. The Infestor, honestly, has not even been used so much in Heart of the Swarm. I mean, it's being used, obviously, but, you know, a lot of times when I see an infestation pit being thrown down by Zerg, you see Swarm Hosts or you see Vipers. They still make Infestors, but I'm not really too sure what this change is going to do. Reduced from 15 to 12. We'll have to see what matchup specific this is going to be. Next thing is Spore Crawler. The weapon damage for Acid Spew has been increased from 15 to 15 plus 15 versus Biological. Okay, so Spore Crawlers, of course, obvious defense for air against Protoss, obvious defense for Banshees against Terran. So this is definitely a nice buff to the Spore Crawlers, even though I'm not really too sure what I mean, spore crawlers were kind of good the way they are. They took out the evolution chamber. You don't even need an evolution chamber to make a spore crawler anymore. But that's going to be another thing that Zerg players are going to experiment a little bit more with. I don't think that's a huge change, though, to be honest. So that's a little bit about the patches. Patch number 14 has not been announced, but when it does get announced, I'm going to go ahead and look a little bit more into it, post a YouTube video about it, and give you guys a little bit of my opinion and my idea on these balance changes. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you guys have any comments, post it in the comments section here on my YouTube channel, and we'll possibly be doing these more in the future. So that's going to do it for today. This is Promise, and I'm signing out.